Hi guys, this is a short video to kind of walk you through that hands-on lab a little bit and cover some of the things that may not have been clear or that you may have forgotten at this time. So I got my 3 routers set up, and remember, for frame relay we're going to throw our cloud in there. So this guy connects to this cloud, he connects there, blah blah. So everything is all set up. I got green lights across the board. So it gives you the basic stuff. By now you should be able to disable domain lookup. You should be able to you do logging synchronous and all that kind of stuff and get your green lights on. So once that's done, step or task 3 tells you between R1 and R2 they want you to do PPP authentication. Alright, it's not bad. You just go to router 1, and I'm trying to move this so you can actually see everything. Alright, so obviously we need to go into config, and we need to spell that correctly. Alright, from here we need to create a username and password that we're going to use for the PPP authentication. Now my username is going to be the host name on the other router. So first, over here, I'm going to be host name R1. And what the? Oh, did I not do that right? Okay. I hate when that happens. Alright, so on R1, I'm going to set up a username of R2, which is the other guy, and then password Cisco. Now, the username has to be the host name of the target router, and the passwords have to match. So I put that in. Now I go into my serial interface, and remember I connected him through serial 000. Now from the interface, just encapsulation, PPP, enter, and then PPP authentication, and then it told you to pick chat. And that should be all you have to do on router 1. Now let's go to router 2, do the same kind of thing. Alright, so R2 is now the new host name. So again, username R1, password Cisco. Oh, wow, not my day for spelling, is it? And then we want to go to our interface, and that was serial 000. And same thing, encapsulation, PPP. After the encapsulation, we have to pick the authentication. So PPP. Oh my gosh, never do this on the weekend. Chat. Alright. Alright, if everything worked, we should be able to ping the other end. And I think he's .1. Yep, boom. So everything's going. So, task 3 is all set. We've been able to set up PPP. And again, that's it. You just got to do the username and password. The username has to be the host name of the other router. Passwords have to match on both ends. Then you need to set up the encapsulation, which is going to be PPP, and then you need to set up the authentication, which in this case they told you CHAP. Oh, apparently that was task 4. So, task 4, first you do PPP, then you do frame relay. Now as far as frame relay goes, you guys already have a video for that. And now the second one over here is HDLC. Now here's the beauty. Let's go to 3, and if I go to privilege mode and show interface serial 001, because that's one's connected to R2. So remember, we're talking about this one here. He needs to be HDLC. And if I enter and you look, wait for it, HDLC is, remember, is the default encapsulation on your serial lines. So you don't need to do anything for HDLC. So that's the 3. PPP here, HDLC here, which you don't have to do anything, and then frame relay here. And you've got the other video for frame relay. I don't need to go through that again. Just don't forget, we're doing physical interfaces to the frame relay cloud, so you're going to be using the frame relay map command. If you do sub interfaces, you use the interface-dlci command. So you can shorten that video by just looking for the part that talks about the physical interfaces and doing that. Alright, next thing they do is they tell you to set up RIP. And they tell you to make sure that you're not transmitting out places that you don't need to be. Now, obviously in this case we do not need to be sending out FA01 because there's no routers over here to receive RIP updates. Now you can do that a couple different ways. First, let's go to config mode. Alright, so we can do router. Oh my god, I misspelled. Okay, good. I misspelled that again. You guys are going to make fun of me all day. Alright. we do want to do version 2 because obviously you are going to use subnet masks. Now, at this point, you got two options. I can either advertise my two networks and then turn off one of the interfaces, like I could do passive interface FA 0/1. Boom. Now, that says don't send anything out 0/1. Or I could do Alright, so I just took that off. So that's the first way. I can just do passive interface and make the one interface passive. Or I could do passive interface default and make all of them passive, and then just do no passive interface on the ones that I want. Serial 000, and I can do the same command, do 01. So you can do that either way. You either need to make passive the one that you want to be passive, or you need to make them all passive and just turn on the ones that you want to use. So again, either way, that's fine. You're not going to be gigged either way. Alright, then get your network statements. Now I can just use classful on these because we're doing anything special. Boom. Then again, somewhere in there I thought it said something about turn off auto summary. Obviously you don't want that because everybody here is sharing all the same different networks. So no auto dash summary. Boom. Alright, so that's R1. R2 doesn't have any. Now, he doesn't need to make any passive interfaces because he just has the two serial. So he's just going to do his two network. Boom, and he's up and running. Alright, I'll do 3, and then good, you're all set with RIP. Alright, at this point you need to check your connectivity, and I just noticed when I was trying to check that I had screwed up on my network statement. So here on R1 I did 172.60, it should have been 172.16, but I already fixed that. So again, as long as you type in your network statements correct, you should be good. Alright, now I'm going to ping from here over to this PC3, just make sure I got connectivity all the way across, and boom, I'm good. So my RIP is set up, my front relay is set up, my HDLC is set up, my PVP is set up. I can move on to the next step. Alright, here's where things get weird. We're going to go down to task 6 because that's where I'm at now on the practice. This wasn't fully covered in the chapter, so I'm going to go over it with you. So they say go to R2, and they say enable secure telnet. Now, sometimes when they say that, you have no idea what they're talking about, so I'm going to walk you through this one step by step. So on 2, again, I need to go to global mode. Now, AAA is like authentication, authorization, access, and we're going to do a new model. Enter. Now, again, same thing, AAA, and now we're going to do authentication. Oh, really? You really? Come on. How can there not be a word there? AUTH, that's what I thought. EN. Oh, finally. Alright, now, on login, we want to use our database, and you can call it whatever you want or whatever you want your file to be called. We're going to call this local_DB. And it is going to be stored locally on the PC. So, authentication, on login, we're going to check this database, and it's going to be stored here locally on our router. So we hit enter. Now, at that point, we can go into oh my gosh, never do this on a Saturday. I can go into my line console, and then for my line console I can do login. Remember we did login just by itself? Well, now we're going to do login authentication, and we're going to send it to the local database. And of course they asked you for logging synchronous. Now, at that point we can get out, and then we can go to, same thing for the telnet line. Now here's where we have to do the telnet. So line VTY 0/4, and then same thing. Login, but we don't stop there. We do authentication, and we want to send it to our local database. Remember, here, when we made this command, we just said, hey, the authentication on login is going to use the name of this file, and it's going to be stored on the local router. So again, you can do that stuff anyway. So that's why I'm always using this local underscore database. All right, boom, and that should be all you need to do for task 6, step 1. All right, the rest of that, step 2, just says disable the unused services and interfaces on R2, and that's the stuff like, you know, no IP HTTP server, no IP finger, no service finger, stuff like that. And then again, you can go to the interfaces, Fast Ethernet 000 and 001, and there were like 4 that you could do on each interface, like no IP redirects, no IP unreachables, but again, that stuff was in your text. Now then in step 3, they tell you to confirm, so they tell you to go to R1 and make sure, so they want you to test the security of the secure telnet. So we're going to telnet to 172.16.0.2, which should be R2. And when you go in there, they want the username, and it's R2, and password, Cisco. Ooh, didn't like it. Now, R2, and password, Cisco. And I'm in. You do enable, and Cisco, and now I'm in. I take that back. I'm not in. Hold on a sec. Alright, let's try that again. Alright, so now I'm trying to get in. So it's R1 because that's the username that he set up. So R1 Cisco, and now you can see it says R2. Then I can enable. Woo, and I'm in. So again, you want to use the username that he set up on his, not the one that you set up on yours, because I can't use my password to get into your stuff. I have to use your password to get into your stuff, if that makes sense. Alright, that should get you through, and then you're ready for task 7. Alright, I'm just going to run through this real quick. So on task 7 it says configure your ACLs, and then step 1, allow telnet to R1 from R3 and R2 only. So we're just going to block or permit just by a source address. So we can do a standard ACL. So I'm going to go to R1, and I'm going to get out of my telnet session that I had open. Go back into global mode. Alright, from global mode, IP access list, and again I could do a number, you know, like 5, or I could do a name. So I'm going to do, it's going to be a standard list, and I'm going to call it telnet, if I spell that correctly. Telnet. Alright, now I'm in. So it says you want to permit from R3 and R2 only, so I'm going to permit 172.16.0.5, 1, and 2. Alright, once you're there, now remember, we didn't really kind of cover this specifically, but we know how to make access lists because we did cover that. So let me get out of this access list. Now that we made an access list, we can apply that access list really anywhere. And if you guys move on and go to the CCNP stuff, you can actually use your access list to block routing protocol updates and other stuff. Now, at this point, what we did in class, we did access group and we applied it to an interface. But on here, they're saying block telnet. So we want to put it closest to the source. So we don't want to block pings and stuff, things like that. We actually want to go into line VTY 0 space 4, our telnet, and that's where we want to apply it. And it's applied with the access class command. And oh my gosh, I can't spell for anything today. So on the lines, we apply it with access class. The thing, we called it telnet, and then obviously when we want to allow it in, boom. So now what we did is we only allowed, remember, because there's a deny everything else. So on telnet, we allowed only these 3 networks, if that makes sense, any sense. And man, I cannot quit drinking when I do this stuff. Alright, so it's the same thing on R3. Go to R3, IP access list, standard, call it whatever you want. Permit the 3 networks that you want in. Remember, there's 3 different networks here. There's 1, 2, 3. So you're going to permit them all. And then you're going to go to line VTY 0 space 4 for the secure telnet, and you're going to do access class, name of your access list, and then in, and you're all set. Now, step 2 says do not allow HTTP, telnet, and FTP. So on that one, because now we're not talking about just blocking from IP addresses. Remember, a standard ACL works on IP addresses, and we put it closest to the destination. So standard destination. Now these ones we're doing different numbers. We're doing HTTP, telnet, and FTP for step 2. So we're going to have to use an extended access list. So extended access lists go closest to the source. So it says do not allow. So when I say do not allow, we know we're going to have to do a bunch of denies. So I can go to R2. Oh crap. I hate when this works. Or doesn't work. Oh, really? Come on. R1, Cisco, Ray! Why do you guys let me do this stuff? Okay, so on R2, IP access list, and again, I'm going to name mine because they always like you to name them. It's going to be extended, and I'm going to call this PC1 because what it's saying is block everything from PC1. So how would I call it? Block underscore PC1. Make sense? Okay, good. Put that in there. Now, we put our deny statements in there. Deny TCP any host belonging to the 10.0.0.10 anything equal to FTP. Well, I'm going to make this bigger so you guys can see that. Woohoo! Alright. Then we want to deny TCP any host on 10.0.0. I don't know why, I just didn't up arrow that. Equal to FTP dash data. Oh, didn't like that. Maybe it's underscore. Nah, it just takes FTP. Really? We'll just put 21. Remember, FTP uses 2 ports, 20 and 21. One's for control, one's for data. So theoretically, they want you to block both. But as long as we block one, we're good, because then it's not going to work. Alright, so let me do up arrow. Same thing. Now we want to block telnet. And then up arrow, they want to block HTTP, which we can simulate with www. Now, don't forget, at the end of this, there's an implicit deny. So we need to allow everything else. So we're going to permit IP any, and now there's the deny. But the permit will override the deny because the deny is lower than the permit. So as the access list is read, it'll say stop this, stop this, stop this, and then allow everything else. And it'll never get to the explicit deny. So we're all good. Now, in this case, they wanted it to go out to the internet. Do not allow traffic from the internet, yeah, to PC1. So we're not blocking PC1. Actually, I guess we are blocking access to PC1. So what we want to do is then go to our loopback interface and do the regular command. Excuse me. IP access group, and then whatever we named this thing, which was, I have no idea. Oh, block PC1. Alright, since apparently I'm on crack and I can't talk, let me just show you the command. So I want to go to interface, loopback 0, because that's my interface, and we want to, because that's the one that faces the internet, so we want to do IP access group, because now we're in an interface, and we call this one block underscore PC1 space in. So we want to apply the access list block. Oh my, oh, what the, no, block underscore PC1, whatever you named it. We want to apply it to direction in. So closest to the destination, so we're on R2, we want to block that stuff, so closest to the source. So we don't want anything from outside coming in. So the source is internet outside. So that's where we want to apply it. Remember, extended gets closest to the source, standard closest to the destination. Alright, and then they ask you one more. They say step 3, do not allow PC1 to receive traffic from 10.0.0.128/25. And again, you just go into R1, IP access list, extended, block PC3, enter, deny IP 10.0.0.128 space the subnet mask, because now we have to block by 25, so 0.0.0.127 space any, enter, and then that deny, so now we need a permit, so permit IP any, enter, then go to your interface and do IP access group, the name of your list, and then do out and outgoing, you're all set. So that should take care of that. And now you're on step 4, ping everything. Hopefully that works. And then task 8, configure NAT. I walked you through that, or actually I left you the commands. And then 9, document the router configuration. So again, they just want you to show run, make sure everything looks good, make sure all the PCs can ping each other, and you should be good. Alright, hope that helps you, and if you have questions, make sure you ask them in class.